With take number 2, the first time I didn't have my lovely microphone plugged in. Yes, I think we're all here together. Part 2, as promised, why is having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset important to you? Well, number 1, do you want to be a happy person? We're here to grow both emotionally, with our skill sets, because if we're growing, we're rippling out and helping others grow. I know that sounds like really, but it is. Just try it. If you're somebody who says, "Oh, my job stinks and I'm just gonna, slog through it," see if you can reframe that and say, what can I learn? All right, let me get back on track. Number 11, we started with our first 10 last week. Now we're going to do number 11, avoid defensiveness when being criticized. I got to tell you, this is a hard one for me. Well, honestly, was rarely criticized when I worked in corporate America. My managers always would sit down and say, "Well, what are you not doing right?" Because I am just so hard on myself. That's why the path to group coaching, to yoga, to meditation has been so personally needed and beneficial for me. And we teach what we want to learn. I suffer from when we are from 0 to 7 years old. That's when we come into this world from the great airport. We land here, and then family, friends, older people. We are just little sponges taking in what they're saying, and we're reacting that. I had an older brother who was mean, always made fun of me, always, always, always. I have sat through so many of these coaching, healing sessions, and I still can't think of one time he was ever nice to me. So, okay, got that off my chest. But as a result of that, sometimes things that are like, you should do this different in the kitchen are like, ugh. But I can step back with awareness now and say, this is not my brother talking to me. This is somebody who loves me, who cares for me. And so use that in whatever way, if it helps you think about, oh, well, maybe I'm just using that old limiting baggage. And at the office, learn to take the time to, again, step back and say, what can I learn from this? Again, if you can be centered and growing individually, you're going to be feeling more empowered. You can go out and negotiate and say, I learned this. This is what I brought to the table, and give me a raise. Disassociate failing from feeling like a failure. Again, all about reframing. Okay, you know what? This spreadsheet, this whatever, just was a disaster. Was it really? No, I needed to learn how to do this. I'm just pulling things out of the air. You know what it is. So instead of beating yourself up, which I'm so good at, you guys. That's why I love doing what I do. It's like, how can I help you get over this? Because I know how it feels. So how can you look at, instead of it being a failure, it's like, what did I learn from this? And I did learn from it. Number 13 moves right into, can you reflect on this? Again, just take time to review what you've learned for the day. And the funny thing, I think I've told you guys I journal. And I have this journal. It's an old one. I filled it up at the end of sometime this year, and it keeps showing up on my desk, on the corner on my desk. And it's like, why are you here this morning? I consciously said, okay, I'm closing you. I'm moving you over to my shelf. And before I did that, I looked at it to see what is it that I'm wanting to trigger. And it was this very item. What are my wins for the day? So there for a while, I was really consciously looking at, what have I done? Am I meeting my metrics? And that way you can make adjustments, and you can also celebrate. You can say, hey, well done, Marianne. This is actually very important. You need to be able to get that from within instead of being very needy and going out and saying, am I doing a good job? No. You need to feel good about it first. And again, you can come from a position of strength of saying, you know what, I've done really well here. I want to go report if you're not getting any feedback. Place hard work before skill. When we're learning something new, a new skill, it takes work. And even people who are overnight successes, if you go and interview that person and ask them what their path to that overnight success has been, many, many times they'll say, oh, I worked towards being an actor for 20 years, and then my big break came in this movie. I could think of a few. I'm not going to do it off the top of my head right now. We've got things to move on to. But just understand, yes, I do need to work. I need to put the work hard on it. And just embrace that, because you want to get to the point where your skill is unconscious, meaning it'll just bubble up out of you when you need it. Practice regular brain training. We are so lucky to have YouTube. If there's something you want to learn, go out to YouTube. And this specifically is to invite you to go out there and look for brain training. Joe Dispenza is one of my favorites. I mean, his work is amazing. His story is even more amazing. So look up Joe Dispenza and see if you can find some about how literally when we are meditating using the dynamic meditation, we're rewiring our brain. He says that we should not get up from our meditation practice until we've experienced what we want out here on the spiritual side. So practice your brain training in whatever way fits good for you. I think this week I did a short on, get up in the morning, do your 10 sets of sit-ups, your 10 sets of push-ups, your 10 sets of squats in threes. And that actually helps rewire your brain too. Incorporate the word yet into your vocabulary. I don't know how to do this yet. I'm not comfortable doing this yet. I'm not courageous enough to do this yet. Just add yet and see how it feels. All right, learn from others. Well, I kind of loop this one in with the other one. But again, there are so many wonderful things out there on YouTube. If we need to put together a spa in the backyard or take it apart, I'm telling you, YouTube is the first place I go. And so let somebody else show you the hacks of how to do that easier. Make a new goal for every goal you have achieved. And this is something that I have come to realize recently within the last year and a half or so. When I first participated or took my first couple of classes live in Casa Grande with a couple of doctors for the Silva life training and Silva intuition, I mean to tell you, things just went just hyper speed in terms of being able to think about what I want, manifest it, just change limiting beliefs. And many, many, many of the goals I wanted, when I looked at my notebook from our classes, and I think the first one was 2018 or 2019, it literally blew me away, blew my husband away. He was like, that's a little too weird. But what happened is I didn't have other things to replace those, and I've had a major setback. So don't do that. Start placing your goals, write things down. And as you write them down, like quarterly, go back and say, hey, what happened? Oh, yeah, okay, let's check this off. And that didn't happen. It may not be that it's not achievable. It may be that you're just really not ready for it. So don't beat yourself up on it. Just put it on the shelf and say you'll come back to it. Because life is about learning. And the more we enjoy life, the older we get, the more our brains stay engaged. And look for those 90-year-olds who are learning new things. I just noticed, I think last week in the Wall Street Journal, the largest segment returning to the workforce are 70-year-olds. And because they feel like they have something to contribute. And so be that person where you're still engaged. And if it's not in the job that you're in now, then let's work on that mindset. Is it because you're so satiated that you're bored? That's another thing. So just, again, step back and see if you can just get that perspective on it. Be conscious of taking calculated risk. And just invite more and more of those. What's a risk? Well, I haven't been to a networking meeting lately. It's not that that's a risk. It's just that, I've been letting other things be a priority. Maybe I need to get out there and use that one-to-one muscle. What's yours? Just what is your calculated risk? Get out there, do something new for yourself. And lastly, own your attitude. We are so, how do I want to put this? Our relationship with ourselves will denote the relationship with other people. And your attitude, it affects just on an invisible level. So how can you cultivate that internally so that you are coming from a place of groundedness? Maybe you're not even in a happy mood today,